Well, I got a new opening sequence. Ha ha ha. All right. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a Super Secret Project sketch. This is Eric Whalen from Super Secret Project X, and today I'm going to be sketching SuperBoy from Young Justice. No particular reason, I just always kind of liked that design. So this is funny. I usually let Google model sheets for the animation from the original animated stuff. You'd be surprised how much of it's actually out there. And there's like no Young Justice stuff because usually it just pops up. I'm sure if you really, really looked, you could find it. But one dude did character works just himself. So I grabbed his stuff, and his stuff looks like it's like literally out of the show. So forget the guy's name, but thank you, whoever you are. So I'm going to do that.
I think I have that one saved somewhere.
And you might. It was one of the first ones that popped up, and I looked at it, and it's got a bunch of his expressions. And whoever this guy is, he did a great job. All right. Okay. Yeah.
I wonder what it would take
Yes.
for our favorite shows to actually make art books and stuff.
Well, I'm sure quite a few of them probably get around to it eventually, but you're right. There's a lot of shows that just, well, don't, which is a shame because.
I think, yeah, we had an Last Airbender art book, I think. I want to say we did. I got so many books, I can't remember what I did. But, I want to say there was one. They had a Adventure Time one, they had a Steven Universe one.
Steven Universe one was nice.
Yeah, as well as the Adventure Time one. I was actually impressed with that one.
The He-Man one was really good.
Yeah, that was.
I was really surprised. I thought it was going to be some kind of cheesy, hey, everyone remember the toys, blah, 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 buy this book. No, it was a real book. It was sick. That's one of the ones we got to do when we start reviewing art books.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be like one of the first because that's a really good one. And it's really fun. It's so funny when I was a little kid in the 80s and those shows were on, He-Man was not one of my favorites. I liked it, and it was great when it came on.
Same here.
But I was more like, G.I. Joe and Transformers. And now that I've gotten older and I play like cartoons while I'm doing my projects and stuff, and I have them playing up on the big screen, I can get G.I. Joe and stuff. It's on Tubi, and Transformers I think is up on Tubi as well. But I just keep going back to like He-Man, and like She-Ra, and I don't know why. Because like when you'd figure you'd go with like the nostalgia thing from when you were a kid, and it just nothing,
For me, with those two at least, because I'm the exact same way. I remember watching them, and in all honesty, I think He-Man was probably one of my first like crushes.
Well, he's a big beefy dude.
Yeah, exactly. And to be fair, like I think he was my first boy crush. My first girl crush was Penny from Inspector Gadget.
Penny was one of my firsts too.
But
I loved Penny when I was. Here's the funny thing, I also loved Penny from Lost in Space. I had 2 Pennies when I was a kid, which was weird. And then I grew up and I watched Lost in Space, and she was a cute little actress. But her character was completely uninteresting, which is a real shame because the actress was fun. She was like a cute little space girl. But when you go back and watch Inspector Gadget, the voice actress is Cree Summers.
Cree Summer, yes.
Cree Summer, and just a great and I had a crush on the actress of her and didn't even know it was Penny from Inspector Gadget, from a whole new world. Different world. That was it. Different world, and she was like the goofy sidekick to the main pretty character. And I was always like, man, she's way cuter than the one I'm supposed to,
Yeah, that was Freddie. a character name.
Freddie.
Yeah.
She had that great kind of light reddish brown droopy fro that was always like really zany looking. And it never occurred to me it was the girl that did Penny Gadget.
But what was the original subject we were talking about now? Anyway.
We're pure tangent.
Train of thought derailed.
Derailed.
Oh yeah, we're talking about why He-Man keeps.
Oh.
Yeah, I think, at least for me, because with the other ones, like at least with like Transformers and G.I. Joe, there was more story there, and so we actually pay attention to that. With He-Man, there wasn't much story. Everything was self-contained and just kind of.
Yeah, that's true. It's really good for just half paying attention to.
Yeah,
which sounds awful, but it's true.
Yeah, there was so much reusing of the assets that you can pretty much guarantee that you're gonna see the exact same frame of him running or Skeletor running or Teela running being reused.
You know the funny thing about He-Man is, okay, when I was a little kid, I remembered the reused footage, right? But I remembered one specifically being my favorite. It doesn't exist. I'm so serious. There was one in my childhood memories. There was always a angled path. He'd run down it, stop, go, and then run on. Exactly right, because it doesn't exist. It is in my memory. I remember seeing it as a kid. I have rewatched all of He-Man. It does not exist. I have completely fabricated a memory, and I have an animated sequence in my head that was never made.
Yeah, let's see. The only thing I can think of is when he does because they in the one the one He-Man documentary that we talked about, they said something about there wasn't one of the rotoscope things that they did was him running down a path, and he stopped, and then he like tossed his sword. And then he ran, so maybe that was it?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is the one I specifically remember. And it probably is glued together in my memory from multiple different shots. But it was funny because the first time I rewatched He-Man, and I was doing it when I would like try to wind down at the end of the day, so I'd stick a couple episodes in and then I'd snooze off in the lazy boy. And I would just be going, wait a minute, where is this shot I'm remembering? And I thought it was in like every episode. Like I remember it. It's not there. It is totally not there. It's really funny. I was sitting there going like, should I keep this to myself because I sound mildly insane?
Welcome to my world.
Yes. But yeah, no, I just thought that was awfully funny. Not sure how we got onto He-Man off of talking, off of doing Superboy from Young Justice.
Oh, we were talking about, you mentioned cartoons that you've been watching to work to. And it's like He-Man is one that you put on, and you were talking about He-Man and She-Ra and Transformers and how Transformers and G.I. Joe you watch, but for some reason He-Man is the one that you always just kind of keep going back to.
Well, and She-Ra, it's also like another one is Steven Universe, and which is funny because with She-Ra and He-Man, you're kind of looking at it going like, I don't need to fully pay attention to this. But there's stuff in Steven Universe that kind of begs you to really pay attention at moments, and there's other moments where you can just kind of do the same thing. Peridot, you're reliving Wile E. Coyote's life, kind of a thing. And
Steven Universe, I think with that one is because we've watched it so many times.
Yeah, well, I think part of it, I'm also doing. I think I have a tendency of rewatching stuff because I'm wanting to see the new stuff, and so a good time for me to kind of rewatch it is like, in the background while I'm working, because I think I've gone through the first 6 seasons of Arrow like 2 or 3 times, and it's not like I'm sitting there just staring at it, wasting my life. I'm actually doing little projects and this and that while it's playing in the background. And, it's kind of a good way of sort of sticking to the things that you want to watch while not completely wasting your life, Well, Arrow's a funny one. I remember everyone telling me how much that show sucked. And I remember there was one afternoon where I'm going like, I just wanted a dumb action show to be playing in the background while I was doing projects. So I'm like, I'll just stick Arrow in. And then I found out that I couldn't work the first time through. I was like legitimately going like, this is really fun. Why is everyone pissed at this show? I was completely lost. I was like, why does nobody like this? Apparently, I mean, clearly there are people that like it because it's going on for many seasons and has a fan following. But like everyone I talked to were like, it's all right. And I'm going like, well, it kind of is one of the best things DC is. I mean, you even look at it compared to what they did in the movies, and most of their movies, a couple of them are quite good, but most of their movies are like. And I like DC. I'm not like one of these Marvel or DC snobs, but I'm going like, guys, if the movies are mediocre, they're mediocre. What are you gonna do?
I think I know a lot of the popularity with Arrow is, I know there's a huge female fan following.
I can see why.
Yeah,
Well, they went out of their way to get good-looking dudes on the show. I mean,
yeah, Stephen Amell is
he's a good-looking dude.
Yeah, he is, and he does a lot of good eye candy stuff.
Well, that was actually the interesting thing that I liked about Arrow, and everyone can have their opinions about it. That aside, the thing that I liked about it was, and I didn't like it initially until I saw what they did with it. They did the eye candy thing. I'm like, okay, it's one of these shows where everybody's pretty, blah blah blah. And on top of it, what really got me was I was supposed to find people attractive, and it's nothing against the lady that played Laurel Lance. She's a good-looking lady, but her character early on, that's all she was just sort of the skinny, pretty little fashion model type. And I was like, I mean, she's nothing against the actress. I was just like, I just didn't really dig the character all that much until they turned her into Black Canary. And they took this little fashion model actress and they bloodied her up in fights, and it was brutal and ugly. And I was sitting there going like, when's she gonna get back on the screen? You know, like this is awesome. It was so funny. I was like, and that's what they did with Stephen Amell, is they took some dude who just looks like, I mean, if you clean shaved him, he looks like a Boy Scout. And then but he can clearly do the action sequences. He can clearly act like a total psycho nutball.
From what I understand, he actually did a lot of his own stunts to the point he actually broke some bones.
That doesn't surprise me.
And he had to take some time off because he I think he like broke some ribs or something like that.
That doesn't surprise me because I was watching the sequences carefully, and usually I'm good at spotting when they do the stuntman switch. And on that show, I kept going like, I'm not seeing switches. How many of these action shots is he doing? And on top of it, I felt that he was doing and actually a lot of the stunt people were doing such a good job that I was kind of going like, some of the stuff in the movies wasn't as good. And I know some people be like rolling their eyes, but I'm like, no, okay, there's some sequences they could have done better in when it came to action on Arrow. I mean, there's just moments where it wasn't as good, but there's a lot of moments where it's like movie quality, and it may not be like the best blockbuster movie quality, but the fight sequences are well shot, they're well choreographed. You know, they're interesting. They've got little micro stories in some of them. They could be a little stronger on micro stories. I always love that in kung fu movies where there's like a little micro story inside of the fight. Always loved that. So they could be a little stronger there. I'm not even gonna argue that. But I was kind of just sitting back going like, man, I kind of wish the people that did the live action movies for DC would kind of pay a little bit more attention to what they were doing on the CW, and like a little bit more what they were doing in their animated direct to home stuff, because that stuff was really good. And it just would end up that it was kind of like, I don't know, they had like movie snobs or something making their live action stuff, and sometimes that was good. Like the second Batman movie with the Joker, I really enjoyed that one. Wonder Woman. Outside of the Matrix moment in the World War One battle scene, which was super weird, it took me out of the. It just took me out of the movie. I was like, wait, what? And I'm going to let the historical stuff go. There was just historical stuff that was grossly off. I'm going to leave that out. That's fine. Like, most people just don't care. I get that. But yeah, I just kind of looked at their CW stuff, and like the guy that plays the Flash, Grant something.
I can't remember right now.
So, anyways, that guy he does a great job, and
Black Lightning.
Black Lightning, those guys. We've got to get into the second season of that. We haven't gotten into that properly yet, but that was really fun. Like all of those characters are just, they got really good actors to play them. The funny thing was, is we were over at your mom's house, and they had old episodes of the Queen Latifah show from the 2000s.
Hidden Single. Oh, wow. Living Single.
Living Single.
Looking at Hidden World. How to Train Your Dragon. Hidden Single.
But yeah, I was like watching it. I was kind of just doing stuff. I was playing in the background, and her super handsome boyfriend shows up. Blah blah blah. It's the dude that plays Black Lightning, and I'm just staring at this dude, going like, "Who the hell is this guy?" Like, he looks so familiar, and then it suddenly dawns on me. It's like, oh, this is back when he was a heartthrob. Now he's just sort of an in shape, handsome, middle-aged dude, you know. But he used to be like a heartthrob type. I'm like, oh wow.
He was a heartthrob. Now he's a palpitation.
Now he's a palpitation. That's funny. Now he's just a palpitation. Hey, it's still a palpitation. It's more than I get.
Hey.
Hi.
He's still pretty good though.
Well, he is. No, I'm not making fun of the guy. I mean, any dude who is, and I mean this in the nicest way possible. He's an older actor. He's not an old dude, but he's not a young dude anymore. And he's in there, and he's wearing that wacky ass, lit up disco crazy suit, and he's doing the fights, and on top of it, he's a big, tall, lanky dude. I mean, I'm a tall-ish, heavy dude. I mean, that wears on your body. So I'm going like, I imagine this guy gets home at the end of nights and he's just aching. I'm going like, good for you, dude. You're doing the job. That and the actress that got to play his wife. Wow. I mean, it was funny. I was at work. I was going like, it's like, has anyone here watched Black Lightning? And one of the guys was like, yeah, I thought it was pretty good. And then he goes like, that dude's wife? I'm like, I know. That actress is like screamingly hot. Super thin. I'm not used to seeing like actresses that thin. But super hot. I've got something going on. That's what I get for having my phone on me.
Somebody called again?
No, messages from Alibaba.
Oh.
But yeah, I just thought it was funny. I was like, you usually, and and the teenage daughters, they're cute actresses. I mean, no doubt. Usually it's the, have you seen the daughters? Blah blah blah. But this time it's like, have you seen his wife? I'm like, she's got to be probably roughly the same age as so she's probably roughly middle age somewhere.
Probably like mid to late 40s.
Yeah, I was going like, wow, why haven't I seen her on screen before? She's
been on. I'm familiar. She's been on a lot of stuff. Just stuff that's been a while.
Well, that, and I'm sure some of it's quite clearly more like black entertainment television kind of stuff, which I don't watch a whole lot of TV, so. Should probably pay attention to what I'm doing here. Yeah.
was looking up to see when How to Train Your Dragon 3 comes out on Blu-ray, which will be in 2 weeks.
Cool. Yeah, we've missed a lot of movies lately.
Actually, no, in about a week from Tuesday. So I'm gonna probably pick that up. That and seeing there's some the screen caps from there showing Hiccup with like the full beard going on.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. Yeah, we've watched that. We've missed a few things, but that's life in general.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Is there anything else added? Because I know anything animated that's come out recently that we either haven't picked up yet. Because I know still waiting for Ralph Breaks the Internet to watch that. We got Spider-Man.
Can't wait for the next movie of that.
So it's going to be a Spider-Gwen spin-off.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly why I can't wait. I thought she was really fun.
Mm-hmm. And there was something else they announced along with that I'm currently blanking on. Excuse me. We should probably find some way of we need to put up a note letting people know that we've changed the format on Facebook. So we're no longer streaming on Facebook.
Well, what I'm kind of hoping on doing is getting a setup so I can just sort of post to multiple social medias at the same time and then just post the link to this. Because to be honest, this is what, year 3 of doing this now, and like the most people we've ever had is 5. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm patient. We'll get it figured out. Besides, at the end of the day, this is always has been me just wanting to sketch and do something with it. Now I just would like to see if we could do a little bit more. But it's like I'm gonna get 5,000 people watching me, but it would sure be nice to, get something.
What do you call a hula hoop with a nail through it?
I don't know.
A naval destroyer.
Oh, that is terrible.
I know.
That is really terrible.
It is pretty much.
That is really bad. It's just. Ugh. Naval destroyer. Cool. I also give it credit. It's a nice kind of like take a quick left at the punchline.
There's a site called Love Meow. It's dedicated to cats and cat stories. And today's Love Meow story is a little kitten was rescued and cared for by by a family who picked them up. And she was a tiny little thing. She's adorable. And so the family got a call about some other kittens that were needing some special help. So the family, they came from the same farm, so they brought some other kittens too. And so they brought the little tiny kittens in, and the older kitten hears them meowing and starts caring for them. So you have little kitten caring for baby kittens.
Well,
It's absolutely adorable.
how heartwarming.
Look at that.
That is ridiculously cute.
Isn't it?
It's just ridiculously adorable.
Aww. Older kitten is named Baby Bees.
Baby bees.
They call her Bees.
Baby bees. I need to thin that face out a little bit. Baby bees.
I'll save that story for later. A medical story, saying how World War One forced the medical world to take leaps forward. So
Yeah,
It's
it
it's-
did.
it's tingling my medical bones. So I'm gonna read that later when I'm actually coherent enough to actually read it.
I watched. You might want to check out the documentary I watched on the Mayo Clinic. That was actually really super interesting.
Oh yeah, I was listening to it when I was doing work when you had it on. It was that actually was pretty interesting.
The thing that I liked about it it was two completely different groups of people in mentality. It had I think they were Franciscan nuns, and they were wanting to help the community. And then it had basically the guy that came in. I don't want to say it was I don't think he was like a hardcore atheist, but he was clearly a not very religious guy. He was very scientific, blah blah blah, and he was really wanting to really perfect being a doctor, not just being a doctor, but really figuring out the science of it and such. And the two hit he and his ilk, is that an actual sentence? He and his sons, which were really 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 hardcore on the science end of it, and the nuns, neither of them changed their positions, but they knew that they needed the other one to get the job done, so they came together. And so you had very classic traditional nuns that were taking care of people, but they were listening to what the scientists had to say. No, wash your hands. No, do this. No, do this. And then the scientists were listening to the nuns when the nuns were talking about things like you have to take care of people's souls, blah, blah, blah. In other words, bedside manner. And the two of them came together and created the Mayo Clinic, which is still, and in World War One, they were talking about how they were sending groups out during World War One, and they had one of the best groups, because strangely enough, they were using science to, try to heal people. Meanwhile, not doing what some scientists do, which is the whole kind of like, blah, 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 faith, yada, yada. It's like, well, the people are dying or they're in pain or whatever, and if they believe in any faith,
Yeah, there's a comfort to them.
There's exactly right, and there's also a psychological, and a lot of those doctors realized that. They were like, doesn't matter what our opinion is, what matters is the patient, and that's what the Mayo Clinic was all about. And it was really interesting, and so they were showing, and to this day, it's still the nuns and the scientists, and neither of which seems to have changed their position on what they believe or what they think or anything, but they go, no, we really do need the other group. And it's this really wonderful kind of...
Yeah, it's one of the best clinics in the nation, if not in the world, from what I understand. So.
Well, they even did one where they were showing there's a technique for getting rid of cancers where you basically irradiate, various forms of chemotherapy, but like concentrated.
Yeah, it's a proton therapy.
Yeah, and the problem is with the old method, which is still used by most hospitals, they're just like death ray spraying you. They have a super expensive light-based one that can focus in on a spot in the body, and it's unbelievably expensive. And the whole clinic just said it doesn't matter. They square out said we took a total hit. We lost a massive amount of money on it, but they're like, but we can save people. And so they ended up paying with it with other stuff, and it was really neat because it wasn't hardcore business. It was like that nunly aspect of it, the rest of it doesn't matter, take care of the people. So it was this really neat balance between like that real hard science and the nice, warm, soft, cuddly, take care of people mentality. And it was a really interesting documentary. So yeah, no, it's
Yeah, it's amazing what you can, how you can progress when you put
opposites together.
Well, when you put humans first, human need first,
Yeah,
as opposed to human greed in a sense. And when people feel better, they do better, and when people do better, things get done. So it's like you help out people, you make sure that they're taken care of, those people get better, they remember what's done, and then they give back to the community in that aspect. And that was, from a lot of the stuff, that was one of their base thoughts of just like, we have to take care of people because people take care of us. And it's just, it just becomes reciprocal. And it's like you can't have a prosperous nation when people are sick constantly, or people can't afford to get better.
Well, that night, I also really liked the concept of the opposites of each other working together to make a really wonderful kind of a combination. Because when people are like, it's too bad that we can't get all this kind of person or that kind of person together. That was the neat thing about the Mayo Clinic. It really was like super old school traditional nuns. And super cutting edge, hard science Darwinists coming together. And knowing what each other was, but just not caring. They're like, no, we need this other group. We need what they are. And the funny thing is all of the stuff, the agreements between the nuns and the doctors was all like handshake kind of stuff. They're like, no, we're just going to respect each other. We're not going to try to mess with each other. We're going to, they said something to the effect of up until 1970 something or 80 something, all of the agreements between them was literally from word and handshake, and both sides completely agreed. And then I think eventually lawyers came in and they had to actually put stuff down on paper. But they had one of the doctors was like, wait a minute, how are you guys handling this? They're like, oh, handshake, blah blah blah. It's like, we're just taking care of people, we're just doing our jobs. And some of the people on the outside of the clinic were like, you're destroying how we do business. And all the people in the Mayo Clinic were like, that's fine.
Good.
We're just taking care of people. That's all we're doing.
Yeah, that's the problem, is when you see people as business.
That's exactly right. And it's like, look, I'm here to make money and everything, but money ain't everything.
And besides, how can you collect on dead people, which unfortunately we've made a business on that also, but that's neither here nor there. I'm gonna get a snack.
Yeah, you go do your thing.
So you may see my head in the kitchen.
Well, I better see your head in the kitchen. And your bare feet, make me a sandwich.
You know what? You get in the kitchen, you make me a sandwich.
Oh, well. What kind you want?
I don't know, but you better make it.
PB&J, tuna, bologna. A lot of bologna.
Mm-hmm. Never ending supply.
That's so funny. Yeah, no, I'm changing a couple of things from the character design. I don't care. I kind of love how this hair is sort of doofy. It is. It's kind of doofy looking hair. But it also looks kind of cool because it's on Superboy. I never noticed that. I was like watching the show. It just never occurred to me. Now that I'm kind of drawing it, I'm like,
What's that?
oh, Superboy's hair. It's kind of doofy. It's kind of like cool / kind of doofy. You know, like, because, you know, he's like super tall and fit and, you know, good looking and square jawed and blah, blah, blah. I mean, Superboy. But then there's something about his hair that's cool / doofy. And I think it's like this little, like, whoop, whoop. It's just sort of, I can't explain why. There's something about it that's just kind of doofy to me. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the way I'm drawing it. I mean, who knows?
Well, it kind of has that messy bad boy sort of pseudo kind of thing going.
Yeah, but usually the messy bad boy thing doesn't look doofy. There's just something, and maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe it's just I'm looking at it at the moment. It's just reading weird to me. But there's a little bit of something, because, you know, he was always kind of just like socially screwed up. You know, he was kind of a weird character. That's why I liked him.
Oh yeah.
I just like the fact that they took Superboy and basically made him, I don't know if unstable is the right word, but off kilter. He just
Well, he's awkward.
awkward. Thank you. But there was a few moments where they got into like his psychology, and he was a little more than awkward, but he was definitely awkward. But he was almost even possibly even, I don't know, like dangerous in some ways.
He was absolutely dangerous. Having the, and if anybody hasn't seen Young Justice by now, too late. Basically having Lex Luthor's intelligence and Superman's strength, and having the knowledge of the world shoved into his brain,
Yeah.
being grown into in that bat and all, and then not having any human interaction aside from people coming in to check on him, and then basically being set free upon the world. Yeah, I mean he's gonna be a little awkward. And I just realized you're probably gonna hear me crunching on the microphone.
Oh, it's fine,
Not
sweetie.
a good thing.
You crunch away, sweetie. You do what you need to do.
I'm gonna aggravate a lot of people who hate the sound of chewing noises on.
That's fine. They can deal with their own issues.
No, that's not fair.
No, it's entirely fine. They're getting into our lives. We're not getting into theirs. It's not like I'm eating macaroni and cheese on the camera. Ooh, what a good idea. No, what a bad idea. What a bad idea.
Yeah, but I guess it's probably not very good.
magic of movies. Camera move. Amazing, Eric. Why didn't you think of it before? I might do something crazy later, like a zoom.
Careful, you wild man, you.
Hmm?
I said, careful, you wild man, you.
Like an Orson Welles over here. Rosebud. Rosebud. Let me get rid of that a little bit. Not caring for that. It's funny, I was looking up SuperBoy, Google, model sheet, SuperBoy, Young Justice, blah, blah, blah. Not that I have anything against it, but man, a lot of gay porn popped up. I was like, yeah, that's a cute version of Robin. I'm like, got nothing against it. I was expecting a little bit more, McGann.
Nope.
I don't know. I know. I wasn't thinking, and then I looked at it, I'm like, oh, of course. Okay, that just, of course, my bad. That just makes complete sense. It's like everyone was like, forget Marcia. What was her? It's McGann, but it's not Martian Manhunter. It's what is her DC name? There's a specific name for her.
Oh, she was McGann.
No, I mean usually it's Miss Martian. Miss Martian.
Yeah.
And I was going like, it's like everyone's like, forget Miss Martian. I'm going like, I thought she was a great character on that show.
Yeah, it's the funny thing with a lot of the artwork and stuff. You have all the other guy characters, you have the girl characters, and you expect to see the hookups. Yeah, all people just draw was just the guys just slapping each other.
No. I'm actually completely fine with that. It's just for some reason I was like, oh yeah, of course they were of course shipping characters together that it just didn't occur to me that they would do that because they did such a good job with the two characters on the show, and then they did like really like savage breakup stuff with them, and I'm going like, oh, I just thought that relationship was so good, no, and not, it wouldn't be messed with too much. I'm like, I wasn't even close. Because I'm totally used to the whole shipping thing where you just suddenly get characters together that really sometimes you're like, oh, that's clearly somebody's very specific fantasy, which is fine, but you also go like, it's so specific that you're like, I can't see it. I can see Superboy and Robin. That's like, that's easy enough to see, you know. But I was just also going like, but Miss Martian was an awesome character, and you have that whole massively interspecies thing going on there. I mean, what you got? 3 different alien species involved. Well, one of which being human, but whatever. I mean, Superboy is part Lex Luthor, right?
What?
I mean, Superboy is part Lex Luthor, right?
Yeah.
So you got a little human, you got a little Kryptonian, you got a little Martian. Ain't that kinky enough? Actually, starting to run out of eraser here.
You got a little Kryptonian in you? Do you want it?
Ain't no such thing. Something satisfying about this step. How did I take an hour doing that? Well, probably a lot of
I love chatting.
chatting. Oh, man. All right. Well, time to close this guy up for now. I think that looks pretty good. Not great. Could be better, but definitely don't suck. So, God, I hope it don't suck. Alright. What thing will I draw next time to put on the other side here? Whatever it is, it'll be Smooch and Superboy. I'm going to come up with something entertaining, I'm thinking. Alright. There we are. Do my Mr. Rogers bit. Boom. Boom. Ba-doo-doo. All right. Well, everyone have yourself a good week, and we'll catch you later. Doo-doo-doo.